Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, all hell is breaking loose in Ukraine as pro-Russian forces battle in cities across the eastern area of that nation with the NATO, EU-backed government forces who were freedom fighters a few months ago when they were overthrowing the elected government. Now, anyone not rolling over and being enslaved by them is being called a terrorist by the U.S. and European media. And I've weighed things very judiciously here, looking at it, and I have to say the West started the conflict because they wouldn't join the EU, and now they're purposefully trying to manipulate Russia into invading eastern Ukraine to protect their interests there, and it is a very dangerous, dangerous game. There's a whole other facet to this I haven't talked a lot about. They're talking about Putin having secret slush funds, which undoubtedly I'm sure he does. And when they go after Swiss bank accounts in the last decade or so, they're usually going after nouveau riche people with $5, $10, $20 million. Sounds like a lot. It's not. They're leaving alone the billionaires and the globalists. You know, it came out last year that the French socialists across the board, most of the government got caught with giant Swiss and Luxembourg and Bahamas accounts, and that they're the ones pushing a 100+% tax. I'm not joking. On the middle class to destroy any savings they had accrued over the years. But, of course, they support 100% tax, like 101%, because they are above the law and don't pay those taxes. Like EU bureaucrats under law don't pay EU tax. It is incredible, the level of open evil and hypocrisy they get away with. And so now that they're so above the law, they're going to go after basically other countries' leaders who've been funneling some of the state-run company money into themselves. And Putin is reportedly, from back when he was vice president under Yeltsin, owns a share of this particular energy company. And the media tries to say, you know, we bet it's 40 billion. It might be a billion. It might be 100 million. Who knows? They're using it as propaganda against him, going, we're going to take your private money, your getaway money, your gangster money, buried under the doghouse or wherever it's at. We're coming after you if you don't back off and join the New World Order. And they had a big diplomat come out last week and say, Putin's not joining the New World Order. This looks personal. This does not look like some deal behind the scenes where Russia and the West divide Ukraine, but then politically act like they're fighting and get some new multi-trillion-dollar Marshall Plan for Europe. That's bare minimum that they want to claim the crisis in Europe is being caused by what's happening in Russia as a new bailout for the bankers, a new wealth transfer to them. But when you look at what's happening with this Putin situation and trying to get his money and trying to end private bank accounts globally, that's a global mafia not letting you hide your money. Let's say you want to leave the U.S. Let's say you sell a restaurant chain you've got or car dealerships or whatever. And you've got $50 million. It's all post-tax. You've paid tax on it. It took you decades to make. You put it in the Swiss bank account. It's after tax money. And you leave the U.S. Well, they're clawing that back, saying, no, we retroactively want that money. And they're really creating currency controls. And that's what the TSA is a currency control to go through your bags. And they now admit that's what their job is. Well, I don't want to live in your planet dungeon. I don't want to live in the prison planet. And that's the whole point, is the globalists are autocratic, authoritarian anti-humans who are getting rid of any wiggle room to get out from under their tyranny. Normally, they wouldn't do that because they weren't above the law completely. Now when they're above the law, welcome to tyranny, because they'll get rid of every check and balance because they're exempt. We'll be right back. My friends, welcome to this live Monday worldwide edition. It is the 28th day already of April 2014. I am your host, Alex Jones, and we're going to have Joseph Farah, who joined us Friday. He's here working on a film in Austin. He's going to be joining us in studio in the third hour today. And that is our only guest, Joseph Farah of WorldNetDaily.com and, of course, the Western Journalism Center. There's the headline, IRS bombshell, most audacious power play yet. In fact, give me that story, because we have another report out today on Media Matters, run by the White House, funded by George Soros. And they are openly saying that, now get this, that of course we influence the media, and of course we're trying to influence politics. But then you've got the IRS revoking tax-exempt status for mainline libertarian, conservative, and Christian pro-life groups, saying, well, you can't have a view on anything. Telling pro-life groups you can't be anti-abortion because that's a political issue. Absolutely over-the-top insane. Number one, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. And then it goes into the freedom of the press and the right of the people to petition their government for a redress of grievances. So it's all there, the right to assembly, the right to expression, the right to religion, the right to a free press, and Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion or the free exercise thereof, or of the press, or the people's right to assemble and petition the government for redress of grievances. Government has no jurisdiction over religion. Government has no jurisdiction over the press. Government has no jurisdiction over the right of assembly. Government has no jurisdiction over the right to petition. It has no jurisdiction. I'm going to say that again. You have no jurisdiction. I don't care what your power-grabbing FCC says. I don't care what the power-grabbing federal courts say. I don't care. Now, the Ukraine situation is off the charts, okay? It's off the charts bad. The mayor of Krakow has been shot in the back while bicycling because he wasn't going along with the West. There are helicopters attacking multiple cities and tanks, explosions, death, people being shot at checkpoints by the supposed government forces and their militias. And again, they knew that when they started taking areas that were traditionally Russian ethnic enclaves, and removing those elected governments and things like that, that there would be backlash against it. So you've now got, just like in Germany before Hitler came to power, you've got the pro-Russian street thugs, you've got the pro-EU street thugs, you've got people whose granddaddy got killed by Stalin, you got people whose granddaddy got killed by the Nazis. And so both sides hate each other going back to World War II and before that. And it is a disaster. And the globalists are playing that off against each other, just like they'll play one African tribe off against another tribe because one's Christian and one's animist, or one's Muslim and one's Christian, or one's Catholic or one's Protestant. Or sometimes it's just an African tribe that is just across the river. And your great-great-granddaddy killed my great-great-granddaddy. So we're going to get you back. That's how tribalism works. And the globalists call it the great game. They look at the different fissures using sociologists, anthropologists, Peace Corps front people, CIA, about half of them on average. Nothing against the so-called Peace Corps set up by Kennedy, but it's a front. They send in good, well-meaning people to get everybody's trust, study the tribal divisions, the tribal beefs. They then go back and write reports up, and then that's given to the different intelligence agencies to give to private jackals, corporations as they're known. Private operators, political operators are known as jackals, economic hitmen, and then they send them in to play the groups off against each other and then act like the mediators to fix it. That's why the Southern Poverty Law Center and ADL and different federal FBI groups have been caught financing the radical left groups and financing the radical white supremacist groups. You'll have a leader of one of the white supremacist groups that's an actual federal agent, Elohim City, McVeigh, the rest of them, that came out in federal court. And the people under him running around Heiling Hitler don't even know they're being handled by the Southern Poverty Law Center. That came out in federal court. I mean, I've gone out and protested the Klan, and you could take one look at the leader of the groups, and I'll say, you're a big, fat federal agent, and the guy says, I'll kill you, and doesn't get in trouble. That happened up in Waco. There's video of that. The Second Amendment means I can kill whoever I want. That's a fad to demonize the Second Amendment. And that ended up being in the newspaper, the Waco paper at the time. I told you Hal Turner was an FBI operative. Turned out he was above FBI, assigned to the FBI as a, quote, national security asset, and the federal court in Chicago sealed what federal agency he works for. CIA, probably. And by the way, when Anonymous blew his cover and released all his info, they burned him. You noticed that. So what am I getting at here? This is the divide and conquer. It's not that the Russians are good. It's not that Putin's good. It's that the West, George Soros, NATO, initiated this 3.5 months ago when they didn't vote to join the EU, overthrew the country because Russia was coming in with $40+ billion just here. Here's $40+ billion. NATO's gave them $5 billion. And they decided, you know what? You spent $5 billion trying to overthrow us politically. We're going to take the $44 billion or whatever from Vladimir, and we're going to go ahead and get out of debt that way. And the banksters said, you're not going to get out of debt. We're going to take down your country. And that's what they're now doing, it just like Greece, just like Spain. So now in Krakow and in a bunch of other cities, it is just asymmetrical warfare, checkpoints, snipers killing people. The Russians are going to start fighting back. They've already been doing that. And they are firing now grenade launchers at helicopters and shooting them down. I mean, it is getting crazier and crazier. Pro-Russian forces are taking over TV stations. It is deteriorating very, very quickly. So let me be breaking that down. Meanwhile, while all this serious stuff's going on and the world derivatives market is getting ready to go belly up again like in 2008, where undoubtedly all the charts show it entering that same zone, this time it's going to be much bigger. As all of this is unfolding, what are we talking about? Yesterday afternoon, I see on Drudge and everywhere else the coverage of racist Clippers owner Donald Sterling, quote, as a Democrat. And I go and I turn on the television, and I just knew it'd be on ESPN. I go to ESPN, and I see Magic Johnson talking about it. And I agree with what Magic Johnson was saying, but I just saw what he allegedly said. I guess they were whitewashing it on ESPN while acting like they were going after Sterling. So I thought, hey, don't hang out with these players. You know, it doesn't look good. And, you know, my elite culture, you know, you need to be with me, the owner, whatever. And I thought, oh, that's just more race baiting, you know, more media diversions. This is all, because I'm sick of all the Catholic against Orthodox in Ukraine and this African tribe against that. I'm sick of the balkanization. So I came on air and I said, you know, I'm sick of the decadent sports culture. I'm sick of the owners having to pay for all their stadiums. Just everyone's degenerate. I'm just sick of it. Until a caller called in and said, have you listened to the whole thing? So I got home last night and listened to 15 minutes, the whole tape. Because I don't like people recording folks secretly. I'm sick of it. And then editing it. So I said, you know, I don't like what he did, but I don't like what she did either. But then once I really heard it and started thinking about it, it is some of the most outrageous stuff I've ever heard. I mean, because this guy is a big Democrat. This guy makes money off predominantly black basketball players. It turns out he rents them, a lot of their houses and apartments at loan sharking rates. The new players aren't making that much money. And he literally sees them as slaves. And it's literally beyond 10 times what Bundy said about, you know, were they better off as slaves because they're slaves now, taken out of context. This guy literally says that in Israel, black people are lower than dogs, and that, I mean, I listened to the whole thing and was blown away, and then realized, again, I say I don't believe mainstream media, but still, when you're in a hurry, you hear them quote it, you hear him play a clip of it on ESPN, and you hear Magic Johnson decry it. They were playing the whitewash, but acting like they had shown what he really said. Oh, honey, it just doesn't look good. You know, I'm the owner, and, you know, blah, 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 and I just don't want you dating these guys. It sounded to me like jealousy. So I'm like, you know, I'm so sick of gold diggers recording people and just all the treachery and just all the stuff that goes on. But then I really started thinking about it. How could you be friends with these people? That's what Magic Johnson talked about. And go out to dinner and play golf with people. and then be secretly sitting there hating him. And then it all started clicking. That's why Democrats are always saying that conservatives and libertarians are secretly racist. Folks, I don't sit around secretly saying racist stuff. I mean, I might sit there every once in a while and talk about Richard Pryor when he would make jokes about white people and black people, and then you even feel guilty repeating a Richard Pryor joke about black people. Or an Eddie Murphy joke about, you know, his mom and the hamburger that had all the onions in it. Because, I mean, let's face it, it's fun to tell redneck jokes, too, and I'm redneck stock, if you want to say. I mean, it's fun to make fun of Bundy going, I mean, but I'm not against Bundy. I mean, it's like, I'm not racist. I got one right here. I'll bring him in the house. I mean, you know, I tell that. It's hilarious, but it's also very sad. Because Bundy's just a hillbilly. He's not racist. He actually doesn't want to abort all the black people. That's the real litmus test. But, man, I heard this clip, and here we are on the verge of World War III, and we're talking about this, but it's very interesting. So I'm going to be breaking that down as well. Stay with us, ladies and gentlemen. It's all coming up straight ahead. Mega massive banks that are basically running the planet. They want to make us poor so they can control us, obviously. And they will demonize any group they can so they can dehumanize them. Demonize the Native Americans so you can take their land and kill them. Demonize the Russian Ukrainians so you can demonize and attack them. Or if it was in the Soviet time, demonize the Western Ukrainians. It's the same thing. You say that your enemy isn't human. The Japanese dehumanized the Americans before they attacked us. We then dehumanize them. We dehumanize the Iraqis, vice versa. And that's what you see in the divide and conquer system, is that we say the Russians aren't human. And then they become our enemy and say we're not human and we're evil. Or you get the attitude of this racist, I mean, really hardcore, serious racist, from the Clippers, Donald Sterling, making his living off of people and then basically talking about them like they're not even people. But this is what elites do. This is what elitism is all about. Most people go join elite country clubs. So in their town, they can feel like they're better than everybody. It's like cliques in high school. Instead of what does somebody stand for, what does somebody think, what art do they produce, it's what religion are you, where do you come from, who was your daddy. And obviously in culture and society, that's important to a certain level. But then you get people who literally only care about that because it lets them be on a power trip feeling like they're better than somebody else when they themselves have never really accomplished anything. And that's why these globalist elitists are the way they are. Most of them got their money out of swindles or hereditary money that has been passed down through their families. And what's really disgusting about it is all this race stuff gets promoted and gets pushed, and then we have all these serious issues going on, and we can't ever even deal with any of that because we're being taught to constantly just obsess over all of this. But think about how hypocritical it is that this guy's a big Democrat, a big Democratic donor, and I haven't looked into his stadiums, but in most cases, the big basketball stadiums, the big football stadiums, and hockey stadiums, and all of them, baseball stadiums, are taxpayer funded. And that discriminates against everybody. It's like the Formula One owner all over the world. He gets Ecclestone or Ecclestein, whatever his name is, he gets the multi-billion-dollar tracks paid for by the taxpayers. Austin taxpayers paid to build his Formula One track. And the guy, as I've said many times, just last year, gave $3 billion as a gift to his two daughters. Hey, great, buddy, I'm not envious of your $3 billion or your helicopters or your palaces, or they liked a hotel downtown and couldn't rent all the rooms, so they just bought it. My issue is I don't want to go eat in that hotel now because I know the money goes to you, and you're already getting my money multiple ways. You're robbing it from me, and you're robbing it from all the poor people. And see, that's the real discrimination, is that I shouldn't be paying for not one but two stadiums for Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys at a cost of $2.5 billion if you count both of them. I shouldn't be paying. You shouldn't be paying for the Formula One track. It's incredibly profitable. I've done the math on top of it all being paid for. Of course this guy's got tens of billions of dollars. He's had scores of tracks all over the world built for him. And they use fake celebrity with all the mayors and locals clamoring to be in the box seats, to be around the movie stars who come to these Formula One races so we can all sit there and fit the bill for everything they're doing. And I like auto racing. I like motorcycle racing. The point is that I'm being discriminated against. So, see, that's why I hate professional sports, because it's all part of the Roman gladiatorial diversion. And then you've got a cherry on top of this totally disconnected billionaire and it makes me want to throw up. It makes me want to throw up because I guarantee you all these stadiums are taxpayer paid for. I haven't looked it up yet about the Clipper Stadium. I bet you money that the stadium they're in was taxpayer paid for. And so it's not just, he doesn't just think the black players on his team are slaves. They think we're all slaves. And you know what? We act like slaves. I don't care what color you are, stop acting like a slave for these scumbag globalists who are literally feeding off of us, okay? I mean, quite frankly, we are their slaves. I mean, it isn't a view of Sterling and people that we're slaves. We are. If you just joined us, it is Monday, the 28th day of April 2014. And the reason I'm getting into the whole Clippers controversy up front is that in and of itself, all the racial division, distractions, diversions is a divide and conquer distraction. But we have to analyze it to understand that and learn to deal with it. And within what they call racism, that's really just tribalism, we see a human survival trait to demonize the tribe over the hill so that you can fight against them and kill them and not feel bad about what you're doing. And that's really what all this is about. And that's why you keep seeing so many billionaires and so many globalists, including billionaires that are, quote, minorities, having a bad view towards other minorities and poor white people or anybody else for that matter. It's an elitism to demonize the people that you're feeding on. You know, we have a lot of different sources and leaks inside Bilderberg every year, mainly from the workers at the hotels, but also some connections to some of the people involved in and around Bilderberg. I'll just leave it at that. Because not all the people attending are actually bad. They're playing along with it. You call them double agents, I guess, or they have a conscience. And we always get into the hotel about 4 or 5 days before. It's going to be in Copenhagen, Denmark this year. I'm going to send Paul Watson, probably some of the other crew. I might even go. I probably should go. I just really want to spend time with my children, quite frankly. And there's so much work to be done here with the new studio and all the things we're launching. But we always go and talk to the people at the hotel and tell them, listen, they're going to be super mean to you. If you look them in the eyes, you're going to get fired. You're going to be screamed at, and they're not going to give you tips. And, you know, any documents, any information, anything you overhear, the day after this is over, you can come meet us at the local pub at such and such. And then we go the day after Bilderberg ends, and there are the people there at the pub, or they're at the shopping center, or they're at the train station. The problem is, for a long time, and this happened at the 2008 Bilderberg, I would go into the bar, the Lord Wellington bar there at that particular hotel, that Marriott Convention Center, 5-star hotel, right next to the defense contractor complexes in Virginia. And they would send in the head of security with plainclothes, State Department people they look like, and walk right over to me while I'm eating a hamburger and go, we hope no one steals stuff from the hotel. There's been a lot of problems with theft. And you better not steal anything. And I'm like, are you accusing me of stealing? Oh, I didn't mean you. I meant people better not steal. They like to pull fire alarms and then steal vases. And so I go up to go on the radio at midnight. So I ate that hamburger about 11:30. And I had people there with me that saw all this happen. And as soon as I go on George Norrie's Coast to Coast, the fire alarm gets pulled. Well, the New York Times made jokes about it and said that I thought a fire alarm was to go after me, and that I was basically like schizophrenic. And they went on to say there was no black sedans, no one meeting there, and that I made it all up. They wrote a New York Times article, we've shown it on air, saying there was no meeting there, and I was having a full-on, total break hallucinations, okay? The Secret Service that showed up the next day, the limos, the helicopters, the video we have of all of it, it didn't happen. Talk about gaslighting. So I was sitting there witnessing all this. I'm going to tie this into racism in a minute. And it clicked that they were planning to, I guess, steal something and then say I'd done it. But I got out of the building, and they had the police there and the fire trucks and everything. Everybody had to come out. And the head of security walks over with the goons, and to my face, in front of my crew, he said, F you, Alex. You better watch it. I'm going to have you arrested. And people say, well, why not get in his face? There's cops there. They're trying to set me up. I don't know how they're trying to set me up. I don't think the head of security there was even in on all of it. He looked completely freaked out. He may have believed the State Department people and the plainclothes Marines that were there that I was really trying to steal something. I still don't know. But this is the kind of stuff the CIA and the State Department pulls on you. He walked up just going, Alex? But the thing is, I still smoked cigarettes 6, 7 years ago, off and on when I got nervous. I didn't smoke all the time, but I went on trips. I'd buy cigarettes. Parliaments is what I like to smoke. And I was outside after the hamburger, chain smoking cigarettes, because you can't smoke in the room, by myself. I'd sit the guys up to get ready for the radio interview and to film it. And I'm out there chain smoking cigarettes, and they've got these engineers out there with their caps and their big white trucks, and they're obviously work for the government. They're all looking at me, and I'm just like little secret agents are walking around. This is like a day and a half before all the people arrive. They're playing national anthems as the president of Spain arrives. I mean, this is what's happening 24 hours later. So I'm standing there at the front porch where presidents are going to be secretly arriving. Hillary and Obama are secretly arriving in the middle of the campaign. This is a big deal. It's crawling with spooks everywhere, crawling with government agents. And I'm standing out there, and they're going, yep, we're getting ready to run the test. All right, we're going to do that in about 10 minutes. And they're on their walkie-talkies, 20, 30 feet away from me saying this. And I remember thinking, they're going to pull a fire alarm and kick everybody out of the building. I mean, I've been around this so much that I knew what they were going to do before they did it. And I don't think those guys were in on it either. It shows compartmentalization. And in that hotel, it was like a microcosm of the whole secret state. Because we're all living in the same hotel for a few days. I get up the next morning. They've suddenly taken over all the conference rooms. There's people on walkie-talkies and earpieces everywhere coming over saying, we don't want you to have your camera here. You got to get out of the hotel. I would walk into the conference rooms. There'd be piles of communication equipment with different agencies right there going, we've got him. The satellite's overhead. Good, move in. I told you. No, it's a CM743 with the Navy. If you use the Air Force system, I'm telling you, the patch is a QR9. Listen, get him out of here. Then I go down, I'm buying Gatorade and cigarettes and stuff to go out for the whole hot day. We're about to be kicked out of the hotel. I'm staked out, already supposed to be out of there at noon. I'm broadcasting live out of it with cameras out the window as world leaders are arriving, playing national anthems. And I'm videotaping all this. And I go, all right, that's it. I'm going to go down and see if I can get video of that, what looks like the Spanish president it was that just arrived. I'm going to go down there and get some Gatorade and stuff. So I go in, and the doors open to the office in the gift shop. And they've got piles of equipment, again, tracking and spying on world leaders and listening to their phones and their staff's phones. Every room was packed with NSA-type people. Different agencies arguing with each other. And so then I creep around the hotel some more. They flip out, throw me out. Now, fast forward 4 more years. Every 4 years they come back to the U.S. They come back to the same hotel 4 years later. And you saw the video of it live feeds. You heard the audio on the radio. This is a year ago. I'm there. And we check in 2 days early. They throw us out right after we check in, cancel our sign up, and have the police there sticking their chest out, ready for a confrontation, throwing us off the hotel. Then the police start saying we're not allowed to park anywhere, even if we try to pay for parking spaces. Then we catch him in our other hotel 2 miles away going in, saying, I happen to be coming down out of the elevator right when the head cop's going, Alex Jones's people aren't giving you any trouble. You know, you can throw them out of the hotel if you want. There are the police trying to stop American media from being able to even stay in a hotel and walk the 1.5 miles or whatever it was down to the event. We start paying the shuttle guy $20, $30 tips to drive us. He goes, yeah, I just sit here all day. So people need to go to the airport. There's 3 shuttles here at this hotel, here at this Hyatt. Yeah, I'll take you back and forth, and if I can, I'll pick you up at 5. The cops go to his boss. They threaten to fire him, and then all the shuttle people get mad and start rebelling even more, giving us rides. So now I take you full circle. The human spirit, they're so mean to the people inside the Bilderberg Group meetings that suddenly they give us all the intel. Suddenly they're spying on them for us because they're so mean to them. These billionaires do not give people tips when they get bottles of wine or food. They treat people like crap. They yell at them constantly, and they tell them that they're worthless. And they do this to white waiters, black waiters. They don't care, is my point about these elites. And again, if I don't tell those stories that good, it's because I'm really going back to my memory and exactly what transpired there and just basically having flashbacks of it all and how it's all an allegory. What you see at the microcosm level is also the same at the higher level. As the old alchemist would say, but it's true, as above, so below. And at every level, you see the same things happening, that everyone could be white or everyone could be black. People would find reasons to say they're different, they're bad, to demonize them and dehumanize them so you can abuse them. It's like the Star Trek episode where genetically this alien race of humanoids are exactly the same, except one has the black on the left side of the face and the other has the black on the right side of the face. And they've already killed almost all of their species in wars. And there's only a few of them left, and they're still trying to kill each other. Even though genetically they have the same IQ and are basically the same people. And this is exactly what we're dealing with here. But it doesn't mean that the racism isn't real, because the ball's already rolling, and so there's real beefs, there's real tribal conflicts. That's why you only beat real tribalism by creating a new tribe of liberty and renaissance and ideas and literature and art and music to admire the creativity of humanity to lift us up out of this. But then to realize it's not just the old-timers who aren't really racist but are set in their ways and who are scared of white people or scared of black people. It's not just people like that that are the issue. That's what the media focuses on. The issue is the real elites that are tax exempt and that live off of us and are enslaving all of us and who are attacking our due process and our checks and balances and our free speech and our ancient rights of liberty that were so hard fought and so hard won. They are attacking all of us. I don't care if you're an atheist, a Catholic, a Protestant, a Buddhist, a Muslim, a Jew, an animist, whatever you are. You are under attack by the technotronic age, by the globalists, by the technocracy in their own words. You are being targeted with GMO that's changing your genetics towards the bad. You are being targeted with deadly chemicals in the water on record to dumb you down and reduce fertility. They've stunned humanity. Just like a swordfish will, stun fish and cut fish up that it wants to then, come back and eat. You've been basically bitten by the spider only to weaken you so you can be emaciated and then tied up in a web to be fed on later. And I'm sitting here watching all of this happen. There is power and ratings and everything in playing along and playing both sides of the racial division and the religious division. But in the end, I would screw myself and my family out of a future and you out of a future if I didn't tell you the rules of the game, how these tricks work. And I know you know all of this, but all of us get sucked back into it at some point or some level when someone does us wrong because they've already got preconceived notions about you in a stereotype. So the best thing to do is just forgive everybody on a day-to-day basis, realize it's all manipulation, and transcend it. I mean, I was making jokes just last night out with friends at dinner about all these old racists and how ridiculous they are, laughing at them. And I saw some politically correct people sitting next to me who were horrified at us that we were the racists, because to them it's a religion. They're racist themselves, even though they were just white people, because they live in the race issue as well. And to them, the fact that they say they're not racist is what makes them good. And so they then want to make everybody else racist because it's the way that they make themselves more powerful. You see, MSNBC is always invoking race and claiming everything's racist that isn't, or that it's anti-woman, to use the word bossy, to expand their power to then make everything about not being racist or not being sexist, when that's just simply a new form of tyranny. The truth is, we have to disempower all these terms. We have to stop caring what people say about us and make it about individuals and make it about what people stand for and what people produce and who they are as individuals, and laugh at the stupid racist on all sides, and also disempower the politically correct people that are using it as a tool of social control to accuse you of being sexist or racist if you want to have traditional male-female roles in your relationships, or if you want to have traditional family roles that are under attack. The globalists are attacking traditionalism, not that all traditionalism is perfect, but because it's not the synthetic globalist takeover override. So what I'm saying here is the big threat is the New World Order. The big threat is the technocracy ending humanity as we know it. And humanity needs to realize we're under attack and come together on the real issues of freedom. And the real issues of all these globalists and banker bailouts and sports team owners who think we're all their slaves. Here's another issue about tribalism and racial politics. Humans' brains and their basic wiring are all the same. The idea that only white people are racist is one of the biggest frauds of the 20th and 21st century. And it's only done to then guilt what is seen and phrased as the dominant culture, show that all the other, quote, minorities that are 97%, 93% of world population, people that have more melanin in their skin are 93% of the world population, so that they then think of overcoming being something that's only tribal and racial, instead of it being overcoming the fact that the big mega banks are tax exempt and are taking over our entire infrastructure. See how masterful that is? That we've got rich sports team owners who are having everyone pay for their stadiums, pay for security in a rigged deal, and then no one's upset about that. They get away with that. But then he basically talks about black people and says they're as low as dogs. That guy thinks everybody is low as dogs. And the truth is, he hates having to pay people money. Of course those globalist owners hate their players. And that's why Magic Johnson, everybody's freaked out, because they hang out with these guys and go golfing with them. And these predators are psychopaths and sociopaths, and they're sitting there looking at you like you literally are a piece of trash. And that's what's so bad about globalists, is they have no honor, ladies and gentlemen. They have no honor. I mean, I would never go hang around with someone I didn't like and sit there and act like I was their friend. I would never do that. In fact, if I got an issue with somebody, I tell them about it. I bring it up front. And so this is the type of garbage. And we've now looked it up. The stadium that this racist, the Staples Center, owns was $70 million of public money was put into it. There you go. A total of $400 million. $400 million. 70 million of it paid for by taxpayers at least. Cost of construction, $400 million. And that sounds like not even too bad of a deal compared to Jerry Jones gets it all paid for. I mean, every time I hear the name Jerry Jones, it freaks me out. Because my grandfather's name was Jerry Jones. And it's just, people are like, why don't you like Jerry Jones? The guy literally is sticking his hand in my pocket. He got state and city funds for that. And meanwhile, if an old lady doesn't pay her taxes, they take her house and go, hey, pay your taxes. But then we've got, this is discrimination, folks. We've been signed on to 1,500 quadrillion. 1,500 quadrillion of globalist garbage. And then they want to talk about Bundy shouldn't be able to have his cattle graze on land this family's been on for over 100 years. This is what's wrong with this country. Briefly, speaking of paying the bills, we don't put a gun to your head like Jerry Jones. If you didn't pay the tax in Arlington, they'd send a SWAT team, literally. Try not paying it. We are funded by you getting the high-quality products at InfoWarsStore.com. Please remember at the end of each hour that it's your purchases at InfoWarsLife.com, InfoWarsStore.com of all the incredible products. The water filtration systems, the lowest prices, the best systems, the incredible supplements, all of it, InfoWarsLife.com or InfoWarsStore.com. The Mall Online Day T-shirts, the ball caps, all of it is what funds this operation, truly independent media. Or call toll-free. They can answer your questions. Take your order, 888-253-3139. Let's support us. Shop with the good guys. Second hour coming up. Your calls, a ton of news on the Ukraine situation.
Visit GCN.
Huge news on controlled media. It's all coming up. Well, Kerry warns Israel could become an apartheid state on Holocaust Memorial Day. Justice Department to collect, study, arrest data for racial bias. California cities start wastewater patrols. China demolishes church amid barbaric anti-Christian campaign. But that's okay. Chinese government, communist government, that oversees the suicide execution vans and suicide nets, they are now running around destroying churches. I'm going to be covering that. I want to get into immigration overhaul for 2014, decidedly not dead. And the Washington Post says, oh, it doesn't matter if Republicans legalize all the illegals. The Republican Party is gone demographically. Only socialism is the answer. Only turning your guns in is the answer, even though guns are more popular than ever. They just keep saying, you will be defeated. You will have world government. And then a story that I'm going to play a clip of his admission. Media Matters chief David Brock admits to working with media outlets on stories. We have political stuff, and it's tax exempt, folks. But you've got pro-life groups having their tax exemption taken by the government right now. It is absolutely over the top insane in everyone's face. So we're going to break that down coming up in the next segment as well. I saw a report last Thursday and tracked it down just to a blog. And I told my crew not to do a report on it. And they all agreed that there's just no evidence of it. And also, the last thing the government would want to do would be drone strike the Bundy Ranch in cold-blooded murder, exposing their NDAA, exposing everything they've done, and becoming cold-blooded murderers. They need to stage something to look like the heroes, not the killers of a family. But I continue to get calls and continue to get reports of that. And there's so many reasons that I don't think that that's the case that I'm not even going to state them here. It's so asinine. And I understand people are running around hysterically talking about that, saying that. And it just sounds like a psyop to me. And, of course, there won't be a drone strike, and I'll be discredited. I'll be the bad person for being right again. Now, they could do something like have a helicopter show up in the middle of the night sometime and dump gasoline down the chimney. They did try that at Ruby Ridge, but they would just say a fire happened. And then they would know that the libertarian right wing would know it was an attack and would then go out and maybe retaliate, and the feds would say, we didn't do anything. Maybe that's the only way. Because I've known them to do that. At Ruby Ridge, they had the helicopter caught on video by a news crew that had a bladder of gasoline. They were going to dump it down the chimney and burn the place down. So, indeed, that is a long time governmental operation is to burn people out. So I would give it one chance out of 20, and it would not be a drone strike because they would not use assets like that where there'd be a chain and a report. They'd use private contractors with a helicopter low, coming in fast, and then dumping gasoline over the house. And because they've got so many people there with cameras, that wouldn't happen. There is, in fact, I got to say one chance in 100 maybe. I just, it's a side issue, and I'm not mad at anybody that's putting that out. I'm not judging you. I'm allowed to have my opinion that I think that's the kind of stuff that the establishment would put out there to create hysteria and to kind of rehype things and to create kind of a paramilitary paranoia out there. And I think it leads towards cooler minds not prevailing. So that's my bottom line on report. Holder authorizes drone strike on Bundy Ranch. Well, I don't have to tell you that the Ukraine situation is deteriorating with Russian paramilitary engaging in asymmetrical warfare in different areas. You've got the Ukrainian Western back is definitely starting it. Both sides have their own problems, obviously. And that's deteriorating very quickly. I'm going to break down the latest on that at the bottom of the hour. I want to open the phones up and get into free speech first. And the fact that there is an attempt to extinct free speech right now taking place across the board. Not just here, but worldwide. Attacks on the internet, attacks on Christian churches that our government's turning a blind eye to in China. Attacks on tax exemption of libertarian, conservative Christian groups, taking the authorizations away from pro-life groups, saying you can't be pro-life because that's political. It's incredible. And we have an article that's up on Infowars.com, and we have some video as well. Media Matters chief David Brock admits to working with media outlets on stories. CNN, Gateway Pundit has a CNN video. We have a, what is it, a Fox video? And we're going to play them talking about that. But the issue here isn't that a White House-directed, George Soros-funded group is telling media what to write and what to do and putting out the talking points. It's that they're involved politically, directly for the White House and they're tax-exempt. That is unprecedented. That's like, let's not exaggerate, 200 times worse than the Patrick Henry Center run by a former FBI agent that exposed Clinton corruption, promoting patriotic ideas and criticizing policies of Obama, and so they take away his tax exemption. Imagine, you criticize Obama, they take away your tax exemption. Patrick Henry would criticize Obama. Patrick Henry is the opposite of somebody like Obama. They take away that tax exemption, but a group run by the White House on record, funded by George Soros, is tax exempt. You understand that? And it just shows how they're above the law. The Democrats are getting rid of the Republicans. The Democrats are getting rid of their competition. If the Republicans were doing this, I would be for the Democrats. We want at least two parties. We need 3 or 4 in this country. The party system is destroying this nation. But you have the libertarians trying to take it over, trying to fix the Republican Party. If there was a big libertarian string of the Democrats, I'd be for them. We need to prop up the libertarian takeover and not let the White House politically persecute across the board any political opposition. They can't beat us politically with all their race labels and all the rest of the garbage. So they're going to go to censoring us, and that's what the White House memos from 93, 94, 95 show. I mean, Media Bypass might have had 100,000 subscribers back then. I wrote for them in 96. In 95, the White House was talking about how could they shut them down. They were scared of people reading about basic stuff. If you read Media Bypass articles from back then today, you would think this is a mainline libertarian site isn't hardcore enough. They got audited. They got visited by the government. They got harassed. They got all sorts of horrible stuff. We should get the head of Media Bypass on. They were out of Dallas. And it is just simply incredible. The hell that those type of publications went through. I mean, folks, they tried to put Joe Bannister, a Treasury agent who went public about it all being a scam and a fraud, in jail for his free speech. And the jury found him not guilty. So that's what I'm saying. They're authoritarians. Even if I disagreed with the groups that Media Matters is targeting, I would be against Media Matters targeting them. 3 years ago, it came out in Politico. And they hit it in plain view like it was a good idea. Politico basically wrote an article saying, hey, yeah, their plan, their memo is to infiltrate alternative media and conservative media and destroy it from within. It was like a racketeering document of what an intelligence agency would do. It was not a document about we're going to go out and fight our political enemies. It was we're going to go out and infiltrate and get hired and get into their organizations. And who are they targeting? They're targeting yours truly, Matt Drudge, WorldNet Daily, but they're also targeting Fox News. And Fox News is establishment. But it doesn't matter. They've now gotten down to the end game where they want to get rid of the vestigial, alternative, old conservative movement. That's now to be completely destroyed. And if people go along with this, it will be. That's what it comes down to. And I just cannot state how big a deal this is, how horrible this is, how serious this is, how over the top this is. Because this is open Soviet/fascist, communist, authoritarian, whatever you want to call it. This is the stuff of authoritarianism. They're only one step away after this of just arresting everybody. They're already charging Republican congressmen and governors and people. This former FBI agent who they've indicted today in New York, where the governor has said no Republicans are welcome in this state. Cuomo, total gangster. I went and looked at the indictment this morning. They say before he even ran for office, he sold his interest in a restaurant, a health food restaurant, and that his buddy later gave him campaign money, got friends and family to give $10,000. That's nothing. They've indicted Congressman Grimm. And I'm not saying Grimm's perfect, but the point is, compared to the real criminals, he's nothing. People can say, well, he threatened to, basically kick a reporter's butt. Well, that's what real people do. Real people get mad. Real people get sick of being pushed around. And again, I'm not endorsing Grimm. The point is, his lawyer says this is clearly part of political witch hunt and persecution. And that's what it is. Last year, the federal government repealed the law banning lies and propaganda. I want to go to this Media Matters piece, breaking it down. And this itself from Fox is a whitewash. This is so criminal. Now, Obama's political star is falling and falling fast. And they think if they don't keep power, they're never going to be in power again. And they've done so much for the globalists are backing them. And they mean for the Democratic Party and Barack Obama to be the closing pitcher in the ninth inning. And they mean to shut the door on America forever. That's why all the neocons have lined up and said, we'll do whatever you say, and we arrest anybody that protests, and free speech zones are good, and Bundy's a terrorist, and everybody's racist, and Alex wants a violent overthrow, because you're finding out who everybody is right now. Because I'm telling you, I'm seeing all the signs that the establishment is intending to stage false flag terror, blame the true libertarian conservative movement, and try to shut down the internet as we know it, bring out the new internet, the new net neutrality systems, start persecuting everyone, and then they know a physical civil war will start, and they want that to happen, because then that will be the distraction for the economic implosion, and they will blame the economic implosion on that. So I'm going to go out to break with this Media Matters piece, and you can take away from it what you will. Then I'm going to come back and open the phones up for first-time callers on Ukraine, on the First Amendment, on everything that's happening, on this Clippers situation. You know, at first I was like, they want to violate free speech, and he can't own a team. Soon they'll say if they accuse you of being racist, you can't have a job or own a company. But quite frankly, I don't see how he can continue to own the team when he said the things he said, because I hadn't seen the full quotes until last night. So I'd like to get your take on that. 800-259-9231. 800-259-9231. We'll take you out to break with Media Matters.
All right, welcome back. For years, we've been telling you about this this organization based down in Washington, D.C. called Media Matters. Their intent is to destroy Fox News, among other things. Clearly, they've got a political agenda. What's interesting is it was about a week or two ago, Cheryl Atkinson, who for years worked at CBS, she said on one of the chat shows, she said that Media Matters had actually contacted her and helped her produce some of her segments on CBS, which is extraordinary for CBS to be taking the stuff for propaganda from this way lefty outfit. Media Matters founder David Brock was on CNN yesterday, was asked about whether or not they do indeed work with media outlets. Here's what he had to say.
So you're saying that you have a diverse number of donors, but they all have the same interest, don't they? Same liberal politics at heart.
Sure. I mean, I think their interest is in honest journalism and a fair debate. And I think and I think our donors believe that in the vast majority of cases, if people get accurate information rather than misinformation, that's going to serve the progressive cause, sure. And we're open about the fact that we are a liberal organization. That doesn't mean our facts are wrong.
So they do coordinate and get the information to mainstream media outlets.
Right.
And I remember a Daily Caller story a year or two ago that said they also coordinated with the White House. I really think that, given the fact that Cheryl Atkinson has said that she worked with Media Matters, CBS really should come out and tell us how many stories on CBS's air and NBC and ABC did Media Matters have their political fingerprints on.
Sure,
I think that would be fair.
Go through one by one, because she just said they, quote, did try to help me produce my stories at some point. Where that point begins and ends, America deserves to know.
And keep in mind, also,
Far-left Soros-funded Media Matters helped produce CBS News reports. Folks, they run it. They run it. And who do they hate? Yours truly. And now you see more and more libertarian talk show hosts attacking this show with their talking points. And I guess Benedict Arnold has joined King George III, a.k.a. Media Matters in the White House. Let's go ahead and go to that last 30 seconds where he talks about the persecution.
I really think that, given the fact that Cheryl Atkinson has said that she worked with Media Matters, CBS really should come out and tell us how many stories on CBS's air and NBC and ABC did Media Matters have their political fingerprints on.
Sure,
I think that would be fair.
Go through one by one, because she just said they, quote, did try to help me produce my stories at some point. Where that point begins and ends, America deserves to know.
And keep in mind, also, Media Matters gets tax-exempt status to try to run us out of business.
Interesting.
They say they're a watchdog. They're really an attack dog. I'm just saying.
And by the way, what he said is 100% true. A viewer watching that probably doesn't know, 3 years ago, the memo came out that said we're going to infiltrate any media that doesn't agree with us from inside and destroy them. So we have to ask people when they come to work here and have them sign an NDAA, do you work for the White House or Media Matters? And obviously somebody could lie, but it's frightening to know we're dealing with that type of stuff. See, you don't have people sign a non-disclosure agreement so they don't disclose bad stuff you're doing. You have people sign an NDAA because they will get people in your organization, and then they will use the fact they've been in your organization for credibility's sake to then claim that you've done something wrong, or to tape things and then edit it to then claim that. I mean, this is serious business, folks, and it's a big deal. And so I want to know from you, the listeners, are they going to get in trouble? Because if they can ship guns into Mexico and the memo comes out to blame the Second Amendment, a false flag, if they can steal $500 million for Solyndra and then put it back into campaign money for themselves, if they can arrest Republican members of the House and indict them and indict and arrest filmmakers at Esha Souza and indict governors, they can come after everybody. I mean, it's every week now they're indicting some Republican leader. And it's a Justice Department that is so corrupt. I mean, if Bush had his Justice Department indicting a bunch of Democrats, I would have been freaking out. Even if the Democrats weren't perfect, it's clearly political persecution. And I've been looking at these Republicans they're going after. These people are clean for politics' sake. You know, I've had friends and stuff. Steve Lane, my friend, up in Tennessee looking to run for Congress, but he's got an exploratory committee, has to raise enough money to do it. He's a great contractor, you know, building contractor. He's an engineer, teaches college. He co-hosted TV shows with me a few years. I know he's a great guy. I know his family. And he said, hey, will you give me a $3,000 donation, the maximum amount, for my exploratory committee? And I just said, you know, yeah, I'll give that to you. And then I said, but I got to talk to a campaign finance lawyer. And I'm going to have my lawyer sit there with me when I give the money. Because, hell, they'll arrest me for totally legal money. And so now he's been asking me, saying, hey, Alex, where's the $3,000? I need that. And I'm just like, wow, I've been chilled. It's not even that. I'm just so busy. And the campaign finance laws are so vague, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, if you're George Soros, you can run around and spend billions of dollars in the last 20 years funding anti-gun, anti-free speech initiatives, funding the overthrow of governments. You can be a Nazi collaborator. You know, I love the fact that he's Jewish and is a famous living Nazi collaborator. I mean, they arrest people in Germany, old 90-year-old men, for much less. But then George Soros is a real Nazi collaborator, the real deal. And so he gets ADL awards. It's just crazy. If you're an insider, you can do whatever you want. Billions of dollars to manipulate the political process. And I ran for Congress for 1 week, not Congress, state rep, because people convinced me of it as a Republican. And I went with the lawyers and checked all the laws. And I said, you mean if I follow the book, they could still indict me later? And they said, yeah, but you're just running for the state, so the feds probably won't come after you. But the laws are written to where there's no way to follow them. And I said, that's it. I'm dropping out. Here's the $10,000, whatever I've raised, back to the donors, little old ladies. I'm not running because there's no way to run and not to commit a crime. And now they've done a chilling effect across the board. This is so criminal. And if they get away with this, it's over. This is a authoritarian takeover. That Fox News report is so important on the criminality, and I'll say that, the criminality of Media Matters, White House-run George Soros authoritarian attack group, how they're coordinating the press and putting out fake news stories while trying to destroy the alternative media. That Kurt Nemo's doing a story that shows the head of Media Matters admitting it on CNN this weekend, and then Fox responding. So we're going to have both those posted in the article that Kurt Nemo's doing. It's going to be a very important article at Infowars.com. Very important to get that out to everybody you know, because I don't want to just cover this in a vacuum. Hey, the White House-run George Soros Media Matters works with the media on stories, and then have David Brock sit there and hide it in plain view on CNN like, yeah, we help with some stories, while the very same White House and Justice Department persecutes people for their free speech. Hertz article is going to point out they're persecuting 501c3 Christian groups, pro-life groups, conservative groups, revoking them, while they're White House run and are tax exempt. This is the height of criminal hypocrisy. But the Fox pundit points out the final point, that they've said they want to destroy Fox News and other media they see as alternative. Just like the White House memos from the Bill Clinton library that just came out. And by the way, Farah is going to be in studio. I don't know if he's going to release the full document. They were able to get what Clinton had released, the 30 pages. They have the rest of the 270 pages or so. They have the rest of the information, so he'll be in studio. This is the kind of stuff that should bring Obama down, scare the rest of the criminal government to stop being so rampant and arrogant. They're like criminals at the White House robbing banks in plain view, and no one's going after them. They've been emboldened. They have to be dealt with. They have to be stood up against. And let me tell you, a Republican gets into office and does anything like this, I'm going to come after him. I mean, I thought Bush was horrible. And I had no idea that when Obama got in, it was going to be like an F-18 putting its afterburners on. I mean, they are just accelerating everything they are doing. And they're normalizing that, oh, yeah, the White House runs a tax-exempt group that wants to shut down other media. And, yeah, we are shutting down other media, and we're going after Christian groups, and we're persecuting you. I mean, Nixon had to step down because of 100-and-something names in a safe that he was planning to use to persecute people. And then now they're just doing this out in the open. And MSNBC gets up there on television and says, hey, we're basically allowed to do whatever we want. So I'm going to go to your phone calls. I'm going to stop belaboring this until Farah joins us in studio. But we've got to circle the wagons around the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, state government, local government, and the Libertarian movement and the Republican Party, because it's all we've got that isn't completely captured by the globalists. The federal government is an occupied globalist system in their own words. The Pentagon has now taught that at the highest levels. The government is openly training for war against the people. It is illegitimate. It is a fraud. And everyone who knowingly works with this system and who aggressively empowers it is a collaborating, treasonous enemy. If you go along with the system because you're a coward but don't energetically help it and kind of drag your feet, you're a disgraced person. And you're helping destroy your own future. And shame on you. If you're ignorant and didn't know about this information and it's shocking to you, research what I'm saying, find out it's true, and then decide what you're going to do about it. But if you're hearing this information and you work for corporations or government and you know what I'm saying is true because you're living it, why are the military our #1 listeners? Why are the police probably the second largest group of listeners? And then corporate henchmen and people. Because who do you think runs things, folks? The police, the military, the intelligence operatives, the corporate chiefs. They have to know how stuff really works to be able to navigate it themselves. They want to know how it works. And they know I've decompartmentalized this. From my perspective, I don't have all the answers, but I know what I'm talking about. And I'm here to tell you, if you work for this system and you help them start this civil war, or you help them prosecute this war against patriots, to the devil with you. Because this evil being born, this tyranny that's coming in is like nothing the world has ever seen. I just got chills. You know, I might go a month without saying I'm getting chills, and then I say them like every day. I had Joseph Farah on Friday. I was like, I was getting chills. Because my body realizes, my mind, my nervous system realizes how serious this is and how I haven't taken it seriously enough. You ever come home and you see your front door open and you see somebody run by the windows? I've only come home once when I was about 11 years old with my parents while somebody was in the house stealing stuff, and they ran out the back door. And literally the back sliding glass door curtains were swinging in the wind and then stopped as we ran in. The person had just run out stealing our stereo and some of my mom's jewelry. And I remember when we pulled up, you pulled up in the car right by the front door there in the garage and seeing the door ajar. And my dad saying, the door's open. Hope the dog didn't get out. And as we turned, seeing somebody run out of the front window, and that chill, that's your body going, get ready to fight somebody. Get ready for an enemy. You ever been walking like to put the garbage out? You live in the city and somebody's dog's out and runs out barking and you get that chill? That's your body putting hormones out, putting adrenaline out to fight, ladies and gentlemen. And when I look at this information, I start getting chills because my body's going, enemies. I mean, they're arresting people all over the place. They're persecuting people all over the place. They are openly using the IRS against Christians. They're openly sending out media groups to tell ABC, CBS, NBC what to do. And that's not enough for them. So now they're actually putting all the White House people in as the anchors of ABC, CBS, NBC, MSNBC. And you notice none of them are Republicans, other than like Newt Gingrich on CNN. And he's a CFR globalist. They're all Democrats. Because let me explain something. There is not going to be a Republican Party anymore in 20 years. In 10 years. They don't even intend for it to be there. And you're like, good, the Republicans are horrible. You don't get it. It's just a shell, ladies and gentlemen. They don't want any opposition. We're going to a one-party state. Again, Media Matters head coordinates with the White House, builds super PACs to spend unlimited George Soros money to shut down free speech, pass anti-hate laws that even the Boston Herald called chilling, speech ending. They're coming for everything, and it has nothing to do in the final equation with getting rid of the Republican Party. That's just a stepping stone. It's about getting your pension. It's about racially dividing the country more. It's about gutting this nation. They want free speech shut down. They want to be able to arrest anybody they want. Filmmakers, governors, congressmen, former FBI agents, you name it. They're arresting them right now. They could come arrest me next week. They're getting that bold. They're that criminal. And let me explain something to people. They're now moving into this mode. Okay, things are getting very dangerous. As Matt Drudge said again, I quote Drudge so much because what he says is so accurate. He put out in his tweet, he said, it's now time to have an exit plan from the U.S. And it really is time to have an exit plan. Because what are you going to do if they just make something up and throw you in jail? And they'll have a federal jurisdiction that they control come after you, or they'll have a state jurisdiction that they control. Listen, I want to reach out to the Democrats out there. Do you really want to support this? The Democratic operatives, say in Travis County, who've used the district attorneys over and over again to indict Republicans that hadn't done anything. Do you really want to go down this road? Are you really in a gang and you think you're going to win? And again, if the Republicans had this much power, they'd probably be acting like this too. That's what I'm saying. Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And we've now reached this point. And I know I said I'd go to your calls, and I'm now perseverating on this. It's just that it's really hitting me that I have become comfortable myself with the level of persecution they're involved in. And by comfortable, I don't support it. I decry it and loathe it and hate it. It's that I've become comfortable, learned helplessness, normalcy bias, Stockholm syndrome. The tyranny isn't coming, it's here. The police state isn't coming, it's here. Racism? Racism? Racism is a low level. issue, it's huge. But it's low level compared to the ultra-rich or tax-exempt, and we pay for everything for them, and then they lobby to raise our taxes. They're discriminating against every one of us that isn't tax-exempt. I don't know about you, but I'm not tax-exempt like the rich people. I wonder if I could go get a tax exemption, because I'm truly nonpartisan. Could I go get a tax exemption? Could I go get a tax exemption and then do what I'm doing? No, they would never give me a tax exemption. But see how they buy everybody off who's politically involved? We'll give you a tax exemption in the last 50 years if you won't say bad things about the government. Well, what does that mean? And so most people, churches, you name it, won't say anything political because they want their 501c3. Well, churches were already tax exempt under the First Amendment, but you got directed by your denominational heads to do that, and you sold yourselves out. You're no longer a church. You're now a government operation. You're now state-run church. You're not independent. You're not a sovereign church. You don't have your own land. Every church in this country, whether it was a giant denomination or a little country church, was its own country. That's what sovereignty means. The four corners of that church in Alabama or in upstate New York was sovereign. Congress could make no law respecting the establishment of religion, and the states couldn't do it either. And now look what we've turned into. I want to know your take on this as well. Briefly, then we're going to Frank, Eric, Jeffrey, Lars, and Freeman here in just a moment, so be ready. We have the very best supplements available at InfoWarsLife.com. We have the lung cleanse that is just out of this world for all the toxins, the chemtrails, you name it. Try it. You'll be blown away. And your purchase supports the broadcast. We have the fluoride shield, the nascent iodine, and 5 other chelating ingredients that are just detox at an amazing level. We have the survival shield, nascent iodine, the proprietary system that's double the strength, half the cost, leading competitor. It's all available at InfoWarsLife.com, and your purchase makes this broadcast possible. You can also call toll-free if you want Pro Pure, G2, filters that cut out the glyphosates. That's the Roundup and the fluoride and all of it. I would sell other filters that were gravity-fed. They just don't compare. This is the best system, not just for the price. It's lower than the leading competitor, and it's better. So InfoWarsStore.com or call toll-free, 888-253-3139. Don't forget promo code WATER at checkout. You get 10% off the already lowest price that we're allowed to advertise. 888-253-3139. Or you can simply write to me at P.O. Box 19549, Austin, Texas, 78760. But InfoWarsLife.com takes you to the subsection of InfoWarsStore.com, where you can find all the proprietary supplements there that have just done wonders for myself. And you've heard the rave reviews, and I want to thank you all for your support. And, of course, we have the Super Male Vitality. I've just decided to go with the new low price of 15% off all the time, because folks really have responded to that, and it helps fund our operation. It's very expensive to produce. It's super concentrated, and it doesn't taste good like the other formulas. I'll just be honest with you. I mean, this is like really, really hardcore. In fact, I need some right now. Super Male. My delicious Super Male. It's what helps me keep the stamina up. All right, enough of that. Let's go to your phone calls. Frank, talking about the Staples Center and the funds. Go ahead.
Sure. Alex Jones, yes, this is Frank. Thank you for bringing up this topic. It is monumental because in today's money, if you look in Wikipedia, the Federal Reserve has it at $530 million at today's 214 calendar money. The huge expense that was done in Staples Center is related to a lot of topics that I've kind of followed through the news, because the construction is a little bit sparse in Los Angeles. But
well, I was about to say, the media just acts like it's no big deal. Oh, you're going to pay for Jerry Jones' deal. You're going to pay for the Formula One track. You're going to just pay for everything. That's the real discrimination. That's why they want us fighting over what color we are, because we're all being screwed together. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. And we're having record concrete pours and arsenic spills in the same city. And this spending is not preventing any justice to the people. And it's only going towards this corporate media sponsorship when you go and buy a hot dog watching the Clippers versus the Lakers one.
Yeah, when you go buy your $10 hot dog and your $10 lemonade, that's exactly what's going on, is propping up these rich, gross, old sports team owners. I'm not saying old people are gross. These old corrupt men are gross. And, I mean, that's who I don't want to hang out with. I mean, it is just it's a joke how they hate everybody. It's like Bilderberg. You can't look Bilderberg in the eyes. I don't care what color you are. They hate everyone. That's what I'm saying. This racism is just part of their elitism. Go ahead.
Well, it is. It's an American elitism is what I like to call it. You can see it in the public school systems at Cal State, San Luis Obispo, and growing
Oh, yeah, no. All the wannabes set up their own systems. I mean, I see so-called rich people all the time that'll look down on my Ford F-150 when they pull up in their Lamborghini. I'll look over and they'll just look, oh, look at your Ford F-150. I have a Lamborghini. And nothing against folks that like a Lamborghini because it's a cool car. It's the people that have it just so they can think they're better than you. That's basically, they're narcissist, hollow people, brother. Great points. Appreciate your call. We're going to come back and go to Lars. And then we're going to go to Jeffrey and Eric and Freeman and many others. First-time callers, 800-259-9231. And then at 8 after 2 more segments of calls, we got Joseph Farah coming in. I'll continue with calls when Joseph Farah joins us as well. So let's get him an earpiece. All right, we'll be right back straight ahead. Thank you all for supporting the First Amendment. That grave out in the desert they call Vegas is where everybody's fleeing from Hollywood. And now we have to hear about the degenerate Clippers owner. And I mean, that really is what these people are. These globalists that think everybody else is trash but them. It's so degenerate that they just think it's normal that Bill Clinton fly around in a tax-exempt jet, spreading his propaganda, paying for it with money people gave to help little black kids in Haiti. Half the money from a charity goes for his jet aircraft that he flies around the world in. Now, what's racist? Being an old hillbilly and not liking black people because it makes you feel better about yourself? Because you feel bad about yourself? Or taking money that's for little orphans and keeping it for yourself? But see, it doesn't matter. Bill Clinton pays lip service about how much he loves black people, so he's the first black president as he goes around getting Planned Parenthoods built everywhere to kill the black people. That's why I'm so sick of it. I'm so tired of it. I'm so tired of how it's a diversion, a distraction. We're taking your phone calls. Let's go ahead and talk to Lars in California. Oh, California. I admire Hitler, so I got an ADL award. George Soros, Nazi collaborator, he gets awards too. Alex is deeply racist, though. Sorry, go ahead. I'm doing an imitation of Schwarzenegger. Go ahead, Lars.
Man of God, how you doing, brother?
Good. Lars is a cool name.
Thank you. And
I wanted, I talked about naming my son Lars, but my wife didn't like it, so I said, how about Rex? And she went with that, but go ahead.
Well, I'm going to give a notice to Satan. He's a liar, and so is his mother. And Alex, I wanted to say that I've been praying for you for a long time, and I have a lot of people, prayer warriors, praying for you and your family in the name of King Jesus. And I lift up this owner of the San Diego Clippers because he's obviously been clipped, and he needs to get back in line with the truth. And God came for him. You know, Jesus Christ came for him too. And so right now I'm just excited, and I'm with you, brother, because you know, it's not by might nor by power, but by the Spirit of the living God. And I just ask that he would touch you and empower you in a greater way, and that the Spirit of the living God would just use you and protect you and your family, and that we cancel every satanic plan in the name of King Jesus. And I ask that the standard that you have for Alex in this ministry, Lord, would be raised up in such a mighty way. Whew, glory be to God. That we'll just go.
Well, thank you for the prayer, brother. I appreciate that. God bless you. Yeah, I need folks' prayers, obviously, because we are under attack on a lot of levels. There's no doubt. And my biggest issue is I need to try to not be angry all the time. I have a lot of anger issues. I control my anger issues most of the time, but It's my frustration on not being able to make the films I want to make, not being able to finish the projects I want to finish, having to spend most of my time on the minutia of paying bills and messing with stuff and keeping equipment going. We got a great crew, and I shouldn't complain. We've gotten so much done. But I'm all in on this, and so I realized that this is not a drill. This is real. So thank you for your prayers. We're going to come back with Eric in Oregon, and then we're going to talk to Freeman and others straight ahead. Stay with us. The third hour is only 70 seconds away. And spread the word about Infowars.com. Look at this headline. I want to get into this with Joseph Farah from Reuters. As Iraq violence grows, U.S. sends more intel officers. The West just funded al-Qaeda in Iraq. And so, of course, they're not just attacking Syria. They're attacking the Iraqi government. And you go, that doesn't make any sense. It makes total sense. The defense contractors owned by the big banks are making money both ways, folks. It's like you dump out a bunch of al-Qaeda rats in a country, and then you open the door for the zombies to come in, and then you come in selling zombie killer spray, basically. I mean, it's real elementary. Everybody cannot figure this out. Why would criminal elements in the government want to work with al-Qaeda? What are you saying, the inside job? Yes, a criminal inside job. Criminal networks worldwide don't care about any country or freedom. They'll work with any criminal group. We're fighting organized crime, just like in the James Bond movies, like Spectre. That's based on real groups. Ian Fleming gave interviews. He worked for OSS. That's how this stuff really works, folks. So you can't be held hostage by the threat of terrorism because it's only going to be used to take your freedom. Eric in Oregon, thanks for calling. Thanks for holding. You're on the air worldwide.
Yes, hello, Alex. Nice to talk to you. A relatively new listener, first-time caller. I had actually seen you on the America's Book of Secrets on H2. I'm a former credit card banker for Wells Fargo, and I caught you on the episode about the Federal Reserve. And a lot of these things started making sense to me, so I'm starting to wake up to a lot of things. But
all right, well, let me say this. I'm on like 2 or 3 Discovery Channel, History Channel shows at any one time. I do the interviews. I don't ever watch it. Are the shows good?
Well, I got to tell you, your perspective on things definitely nails it way better than anybody else. A lot of their shows on those channels, they have people like Newt Gingrich, people you can't really trust the information. You're listening to the talking heads talk about talking head stuff. But, that's why I, look into you more. And
well, that's another question. Lately. I say I haven't watched this stuff. I'm the opposite of a narcissist. I can't stand watching myself. Literally, it's like nails on a chalkboard. Sorry to be honest, folks. But I really should be watching the TV shows I'm on. So let me ask you, A, are they not editing me too bad? And B, why are they letting me on air to tell the truth? That's really weird.
You know what? That's throwing me for a loop because you're talking about stuff on these shows that no one else is talking about. And you're on these episodes that have to do with these, topics like the Federal Reserve and, other things, America's Black Budget. I noticed that you're on that episode as well. And you're the only one that's really talking about this stuff, the American prison complex. And, it's just amazing. That's why I picked you up. And your information is way out there, especially financially. Being a former credit card banker for Wells Fargo, you wouldn't believe the stuff that I went through, or the stuff that you see in the financial area like that. It's a totally corrupt system, and it's awful. And the fact that you're out there in the mainstream, people like you now, I think that it's really going to start waking people up to the real financial problem here in America. And you'd be surprised. Probably somebody like you wouldn't be so surprised, but how much Wells Fargo and people like J.P. Morgan Chase, that company, have to do with the situation in Ukraine.
It is incredible. They're using the global banking system they have to put pressure on Russia right now, and they're poking the bear. Why do you think they're doing that?
Well, of course, it's all for their own interests. I mean, they have to cause problems in order to bring their own solutions to it. And, come to find out, you believe the same thing I've known for a long time. Like I said, I'm a rather new listener to your show. But, these things are going on. The financial system, it doesn't have any of our interest at heart at all.
It's also above the law. Speaking of Wells Fargo, they were caught with Wachovia laundering $378 billion over 2 years of money connected to drugs, even running the aircraft. No one got in trouble. But the cops will pull me over and say, got any drugs? I mean, I want to laugh at them. I mean, it's ridiculous. Thank you for the call. Great points. Joseph Farah, who founded the Western Journalism Center, ran some of the biggest newspapers as a national editor before that, is in studio with us in Austin, Texas. I heard that he was going to be in town for filming on a not yet announced project. It's going to be a big national film in theaters. I heard he was going to be here, so I said, oh, my goodness, well, let's try to get him to double down and come into studio with us. And I said, listen, I want to get into the attacks on free speech like we did Friday, how they're indicting all these Republican congressmen for crooked toenails. I mean, stuff that's 1/1000th of what the Democrats are doing. Probably nothing even mildly illegal. I want to get into the funding of al-Qaeda worldwide by the West. What does he think of that being mainstream news now? With a new headline, as Iraq violence grows, U.S. sends more intelligence officers, because they gave al-Qaeda-type groups bases in western Iraq to attack Syria. Now they've been taking Fallujah and attacking everybody. I mean, this is crazy. I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to get into, where's Obama going? Can he be stopped? And I said, but what do you want to talk about first? He said, I want to talk about, this is just seconds ago before we went live. He goes, I want to talk about my flight down here from Virginia with Karl Rove, who lives in Austin. You know, he's the guy trying to make sure the Republican Party stays blue blood and doesn't become libertarian and save the country, in my view. I don't know what Joseph Farah is going to tell us here, but he said it was wild. Mr. Farah, good to have you here with us.
Great to be with you, Alex. Now, wait a minute. You're misquoting me. I didn't say... I want to interject a little entertainment into the program. I mean, how
did I misquote? You said it was.
I didn't say I want to talk about this. I'll be happy to talk about it.
No. I mean, to be specific, though, I said, what do you want to get into first? You said, well, I can talk about Karl Rove.
Right. Yeah.
And so I take
my trip starts at Dulles Airport, and you know, I'm flying to Texas, and. You know, I'm sitting there waiting for my flight, and I see Karl Rove is walking around, obviously going to be on my flight. He's looking at me. He's checking me out every once in a while. Like, there's some recognition there, but I'm not sure. He probably figures, I know this guy, but I'm not sure who he is. Anyway, we start boarding. He goes in before me, and we're both in first class. It's a small plane. You know how it is, and there's not much of a first class. But I'm in 1A. He's in 1B. And I go, wow, this is going to be a long flight.
That's a 3-hour flight.
So, you know, shortly after we take off, there's a little bit of chit-chat, as there normally is, between passengers on an airplane sitting next to each other. And he comments on the fact that I ordered ginger ale, and then after I ordered ginger ale, everybody ordered ginger ale on the whole plane. And he said, wow, you really started a trend. And so that is the icebreaker. And so I started asking him, and you probably saw the story in WorldNet Daily today, on Drudge today. I asked him what was in the news. At the top of Drudge yesterday, and I think it's still there today, is this story out of the Spokesman Review out of Spokane, Washington. And it's a congresswoman, and bear with me, I don't have any notes in front of me. I cannot remember her name. It's like Rogers Brown, but she's a member of Republican leadership. You know who I'm talking about?
Yes.
Eastern Washington. And Drudge has this headline, you know, linked to this Spokane newspaper. By the way, nobody could get to the link because Drudge is linked to it, and he probably melted down the servers in Spokane. I had read it just before getting on the plane, and so it was still fresh in my mind. So I asked Rove, what is the deal with this congresswoman, this member of the Republican House leadership, who is saying Obamacare is here to stay? That's what she said. And he had not read the article yet, so I sort of summarized it for him and got him to comment on it. And Rove's response was, you know, I said, do you think this is going to help the Republican cause? That you've got a member of the House Republican leadership who's saying, Obamacare's here to stay. We're going to be tweaking it a little bit here and there, but Obamacare is here to stay. And so Karl Rove said, no, I don't think that's going to help us. That's a very bad idea. And we turned that into a story. But mostly the flight was sort of innocuous. I never formally introduced myself, Alex. I think he probably knew who I was because he was a little bit reticent to say you know, too much. But that was it. What are the odds you get on a plane? Well, you know, you probably make that flight more than I do.
I think your story illustrates, as a microcosm, all the problems in this country. The Affordable Care scam is unpopular with Democrats in the polls. Mm-hmm. It's unpopular with libertarians, conservatives. Some numbers are as high as 80%, but it's definitely unpopular as people learn how bad it is. It's a total screw job, mm-hmm. and the same special interests that wrote it have their hand in the sock puppet Democrats and the Republicans, and so they plan to keep it in place.
I've always believed that Republicans, even with control of one house, that they had the power to kill Obamacare. And I wrote about it and came to the conclusion, quite honestly, that they either just didn't have the guts to take the steps necessary, or they didn't want to get rid of it. And now, on the verge of them taking the majority in both the House and Senate, the fact that you have members of the leadership telling you it ain't going away. Now, think about this, Alex. I mean, this suggests, in one respect, they don't even want to win, because they have to be able to look at the polls and understand that this is critical to their victory in November.
They could sweep and have the biggest landslide in modern history. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that. It's a giant victory. Run on repealing it.
Right.
But they're saying, no, Boehner's saying, we'll tweak it and fix some stuff.
Right.
Because the truth is, they want big government, too. They want their hands in 1/7 of the U.S. economy.
I'm afraid you're absolutely right. Now, think about this. There are some things that probably would be okay to keep. But is it easier to take this monstrosity that Obamacare represents? How many pages is it? It's thousands of pages long.
13,000 pages of riders, yeah.
And to put that in place and start dissecting it, or is it easier to kill the whole thing and then put some pieces back that you think are appropriate? It makes no sense.
Oh, I agree. I mean, if you were cooking dinner and a rat climbed up on the table and swam around in the punch bowl, you just throw the whole punch bowl out. But instead, Obamacare is like a punch bowl with 55 dead rats in it.
Right.
Rotten floating rats. And they're saying, let's just ladle them out and then put it through a filter. Joseph Farah, are you going to, what would you do? Throw out the punch or just take the dead rats out?
I would not only throw that punch out, but there's a whole lot of other punch I'd like to throw out. And we could have done that if the Republicans were true to what they claim to be all about, limited government.
So how do we stop them? We replace them with constitutional, libertarian patriots, which is what they know we're trying to do. That's why both parties have circled the wagons, spending money to kill the Tea Party, which Karl Rove does. He has his fake Tea Party group.
Architect.
Yeah.
And I got to sit next to the architect for 3 hours, and I wish I had, if I knew ahead of time, I'd have been able to come up with a whole bunch.
Was he cackling and snorting the whole time?
No. In fact, he slept for a good hour. So did I. So.
And you didn't strangle him. I'm joking.
I was on my best behavior.
Oh, my gosh. Joseph.
I'm not a violent man.
No, I'm joking. Now they're going to say Alex Jones wants to strangle Karl Rove. It's a joke.
Well, remember, it was Karl Rove who said he wanted to murder Todd Aiken. Remember that?
Oh, yeah. Well, and it was also Rahm Emanuel who would sit there talking about Republicans and Democrats at cabinet meetings screaming, die, die, die. Remember stabbing the table? Uh-huh. So I'm joking. I don't want anything to happen to Karl Rove.
I just thought I'd like to cheer you up today. You know, I saw your previous segment. You were so serious. And I think you got to lighten up a little bit.
You know, Joseph Farah, the head of WorldNetDaily, WND.com, is here with us in the studio. He's absolutely right. I am too serious. I'm freaked out.
You're too wound up. Can't get anything done if you're too wound up.
You're right. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. You know what? I like Obama, then. No, I mean, I agree with MSNBC. My kids belong to the government.
By the way, I have to tell you, walking into your studios here, MSNBC's got nothing on you.
Oh, come on.
I've been in there many times.
Well, we're about to launch the new studio.
Uh-huh.
Should have been done 6 months ago. I've just been so busy.
This is so cool. Do people know what you got here? This is amazing.
No, it's like a little hidden command base. Don't say the name on the building, but as you notice, it's not.
Yeah.
Very clandestine.
Same thing where we are, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So,
you got a nice place.
Yeah.
Your place is really nice.
Well, thank you.
Better
Yours
interior.
is higher tech, though. Yours is really cool. I mean, I love you got equipment and all kinds. Very impressive and a great staff.
Well, they are good guys and gals, and we're expanding the staff. You know, if people don't want to hear the gibbering redneck 3 hours a day. We've got all these great reporters now. And we've got David Knight, who fills in on the show, does a great job. And so we're trying to expand it out. So we've got some calm people here as well.
Right.
And then they just kind of wheel me out. You know,
You're like the guy, what was that movie, Network?
Howard Beale.
Yeah, Howard Beale, yeah.
The mad prophet of the airways.
But you really, I was, you know, watching you just in the last segment in the studio, I thought, wow, I'm getting scared here. You know, Alex is scaring me.
I'm scared.
Yeah.
I mean, not scared like I'm in a fetal position. I'm really sick of the tyranny growing. I mean, we've gotten comfortable, Joseph, like we said last week, with them persecuting us. I mean, they really are persecuting people. And you said it a year ago, and I was like, oh, yeah, or 2 years ago on my show. You were right, man. Obama's going wild.
You know, if I had thought of this, I would have told you to look up a YouTube video. I just, you know, I've hardly been on the computer at all because of, you know, traveling and all the obligations I have here. But this morning, I saw a brand new YouTube posted, but it's from 1997, and it's Ron Paul, you may have seen this, talking about the BLM and what a threat it poses to property rights in the West.
Well, we should play that tonight. It'll be Ron Paul and the BLM, no.
And guess who he quotes?
Who? Joseph Farah.
He quotes an article that I wrote in the Houston Chronicle. This is going back to 1997. The thing is, Alex, this stuff's been going on for a long time, and I've been witnessing it, and maybe my immune system is built up.
No, I agree. That's our blind spot, is that we've lived under the shadow of this dragon so long, we may not notice it's getting ready to sit on us. Joseph Farah is our guest. I'm Alex Jones. Stay with us. Joseph, I can throw out a lot of questions here, and I want to get into Ukraine. I want to get more into media matters with you. I want to talk about the new book you guys put out. It's got to have the best cover I've ever seen. Police State USA, we're going to talk about that. But, you know, you've got a publishing empire, radio operations, TV news, one of the biggest news sites in the world. And as you just said, we found that Ron Paul video. We're going to post it on Infowars.com of him sourcing an article he wrote in the Houston Chronicle back in '97 about the BLM. There are the reverberations of the good you've done and others have done. There's also the reverberations of the bad. But why do you think they're launching such an unprecedented persecution of conservatives and libertarians right now? Because like you said here a couple of years ago, you said when Obama gets reelected, he's going to try to kill us or arrest us. And off air, I said, are you serious? You said, listen, I've been doing this 40 years. I used to be a communist when I was a teenager in college. They mean business, guaranteed. I mean it. Expand on that now.
They don't have a sense of humor like we do, Alex. Okay, they don't necessarily enjoy life the way we do. No, it's absolutely right. When I watched Bill Clinton, be careful what I say here now, get away with murder, okay? Get away with murder, quite literally, you know, and including using the IRS to go after his political enemies. Everything that you see Obama doing now, Clinton started it and got away with it. There were no repercussions. There was no, consequences. And so thus I knew that when Obama had the chance, he was going to do it, and he was going to do it bigger and better than Clinton did. And that's exactly what's been happening. And, you were citing earlier the communication stream of conspiracy going after the end. Who are their enemies? Their enemies are law-abiding Americans.
It's our names.
Yeah, who disagree with
And they say in memos, we're going to target them, and then they come do it.
Yeah.
It's a criminal conspiracy.
Right. Now, why do they do it? Why are they doing it now? Why is it on steroids now? Well, because they get away with it. I mean, how many congressional investigations can you have going on at one time? Benghazi and IRS and, go down the list of all the Obama scandals and criminal activity. There are no consequences for any of it. It never comes to resolution. They stonewall. And then you have to ask yourself, how serious is the other party about actually bringing justice for anybody? And I don't know the answer to that. But I do know that we don't have a choice. We've got to put them to the test by throwing these rascals out. Because it is like I said, look, I did not enjoy 8 years of the Bush administration, as you said earlier. I saw, chaos and corrupt practices and, crazy stuff, pushed the New World Order, the whole nine.
And the bureaucracy power grabbing.
Right. The one thing they didn't do is they didn't come and take my children away. They didn't They didn't try to put us in...
MSNBC runs promos saying, we're coming for your kids.
Exactly.
I mean, they are like body-snatching aliens or something.
Yeah, so I said to you, and it was hard for me to say it, as you know, as the guy who wrote, don't vote for, I mean, I was the guy who...
You wrote none of the above, right?
Never vote for somebody who is not truly supporting the Constitution. A minimal requirement. Well, I knew Mitt Romney wasn't a constitutionalist, but I thought it's an act of self-defense. And at times like this, you can see what's going on around us. We do need to act in our own self-interest sometimes. Otherwise, there won't be the voices of...
No, I agree. I've always been such a purist politically, which is easy to do. But then you're on the enemies list because you're promoting freedom and a Bill of Rights.
Right.
And they're talking about how they want to arrest all their enemies. I mean, how do we act in self-defense then? What do we do, those of us that want to just preserve basic freedom?
Well, the most important thing we can do, and I've said this before on your show, that is that we support one another. And I don't mean I have to agree with everything Alex Jones says or he has to agree with everything, I say.
But we don't backbite. We keep the ammo going downstream at the enemy.
And when you get in trouble, I got your back. That's the way we have to be, because we actually believe in freedom. We actually believe in the First Amendment. We actually believe in liberty, and that you have to fight for those things. And if you get in trouble, even for saying something I might disagree with, I have to be there for you. And this is a very important concept. I got to tell you, most people in our movement, in our profession, they do not practice this, Alex. They don't. You know it. I don't have to tell you. We're all lone rangers.
Have you ever gone crab fishing and you're dragging them up and you get like 20 crabs in a bucket and one will try to climb out and they go over and grab him? But it's only when the crab tries to get out that they try to stop him. And then we're trying to get out of the crab bucket and then Glenn Beck reaches over and grabs you by the leg. And it's like, hey, man, why are you doing that? And I look down at his little...
We're going to name names. Where we?
No. Oh, no. I want to come back and get into the whole waterfront, take phone calls. But how do we defeat the New World Order? Straight ahead. You know who Joseph Farah looks like? It just clicked.
Tom Selleck.
Lee Van Cleef. Angel eyes. Look at those little angel eyes.
They're green, but...
Remember that's what Tuco calls him? In The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly? You remember that? But you're good. I'm just saying you look a little bit like Lee Van Cleef. Oh, look at those little angel eyes. All right, getting serious here, ladies and gentlemen. So much is going on. Tell me about this new book. You guys, how many books do you publish a year?
We do about 12 to 15 books a year. We keep it under control that way. Otherwise, we don't have enough marketing bandwidth to make them successful. Now, this one, I thought of you. I had to bring it in because this is really inspired by what you talk about so much on the air. And Police State USA. This kind of tells it, it's very up to the moment right now and all the technology that's being used, surveillance technology, drones, the whole 9 yards. And as you say, we're not heading toward a police state. We're there. And that's what this book is all about. Written by Cheryl Chumley, who works for the Washington Times, great reporter. And she did a great job with it. And, so it's not out yet officially. Don't try to buy this today at Amazon.
Well, that's good because we sell a lot of your books at InfoWarsStore.com because they're all so good. And
this one you'll love.
I want to read it and I want to carry it. So I want to tell Weldon I want to have this book and I want to. Who is doing your covers, man? That has got to be one of the best covers I've ever seen.
That is a very dear friend of mine, my son-in-law, who is our creative director at WND.
He's world class.
I think so, but I'm a little bit biased.
No, I mean, I look at book covers. If I was in a bookstore.
He's amazing. I think our covers stand out, at any trade show you go to or anything else.
Well, you've had a lot of New York Times bestsellers.
The highest percentage of any publisher in the world, yeah. 10% of our books become New York Times bestsellers. That's like off the charts, okay? If you're publishing, like Regnery has a very good...
You've also ghostwritten a lot of number ones.
Yeah, but we don't want to talk about that.
That's right. Air. No, I'm lying. It's not true. It's a conspiracy theory.
You're dangerous.
No.
You're not only dangerous to the estate.
No, you didn't tell. I've known that for years, but you didn't tell me shut up.
Okay.
Actually, Joseph Farah never wrote anything in his life, right?
I collaborated on.
That's right.
projects.
That's right.
Big projects.
Yeah.
Projects.
Well, you know why? Because you love freedom, and freedom's popular. I mean, how could I, from Access Television, reach 15 million people a week one way or another and fund a $10 million a year operation, literally self-taught? It's not that I'm even that good. It's that people are hungry for the truth.
Yes, and you bring a passion to these subjects that nobody else does. I can't do it, Alex.
I think that's what people need, though, is we're in deep crap.
Yes, you deliver a wake-up call better than anybody else. There's no question about it. You're a very gifted communicator, and that, you know, hey, cream rises to the top.
Oh, well, you're nice to say that. I mean, I just don't want these people to beat us.
I remember, by the way, you know, I used to do radio for a few years, daily, 3 hours.
Oh, I remember, yeah. You
remember when I retired? People, the affiliates were asking me, like, who are we gonna get to fill your spot? I go, hey, I don't know. I'm out of here. You worry about that. You know who filled most of those?
I remember I got some of those affiliates. Thank you.
and I had never really heard of you at that point because they were telling me Alex Jones. I go, Alex Jones. I don't know that guy. But see, it shows that we were somewhat compatible even back then. It was,
oh yeah, WorldNet Daily and Drudge is where I went 10 times a day and still do, you know, every day. And it's good to know you guys are out there because we don't want to be picked off here.
And plus, we need the echo chamber, okay? It's so important. I mean, you break a story. If Drudge isn't there to amplify the story, it can die right on the vine, right? But that echo chamber is so important. We don't get the echo chamber from ABC, CNN, and the rest of them. We have to be our own echo chamber. This is something I've tried to tell, you know, our friends out there in the media. And it's a hard thing.
Well, it's hard. Listeners need to know you are the amplifiers. Because, you know, even if Drudge or WorldNet Daily doesn't link to one of our stories, if you promote it, it ends up then, usually the enemy attacks it, and then that echo chambers it.
That's a good echo chamber.
Because they're so discredited. I remember when Rand Paul had just finally won the Senate, and Politico called me, and they said, you know, why can't he be defeated? Everything was thrown at him, and the underdog won. And I said, it's because you attacked him. I said, if you want to destroy him, endorse him.
That's right.
And what they don't understand is they're so discredited that when they have Nightline attack me or something, it only helps.
That's right. I think that good evidence of this is what the New York Times did to Cliven Bundy. It was so obvious that a lot of people were able to just see through that. It was so predictable that the New York Times is going to go and try to do something to scandalize this, you know, small guy, this guy who lives very modestly. I mean, if most people went there and saw the way he lives, they wouldn't believe it.
It's a caveman.
Yeah, okay. And that's what they did. But you read the story and you say, I've seen this movie before. This is what they're going to do. And it's actually a great compliment to Bundy that the New York Times saw him as such a threat that they had to kill him,
politically.
Right. Yeah, politically.
What would have happened if the owner of the Clippers would have been a Republican?
That's a great question. Every Republican in America would be asked on camera to denounce him. And, of course, we see nothing like that. He's a big-time Democrat, as you know, contributed to Gray Davis, who is the reason, by the way, I moved out of California. Gray Davis is the person.
Oh, he was horrible.
Yeah, and a bunch of others. And so he's got a lifelong Democrat. But what else is interesting about this? The history of the Democratic Party and racism.
Well, listen, every time I've been around a high-level Democrat privately, so then I'll never say anything because it's a private dinner or something, they start making racist jokes, and I'm like, I've never heard this in my life from my family, and I'm like, what? Did you just say what you just said to me?
I mean,
No, I'm being honest. Have you not found that Democrats, on average, are the ones at the higher political level that are racist?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm trying to imagine, saying what this guy said. I mean, first of all, the circumstances are so seedy anyway. He's telling his girlfriend, don't bring this guy here. But the thing is, this is the NBA. Everybody's black that's playing, and he's telling him not to bring a black to an NBA game. It's incomprehensible.
I know, because I only heard like a minute of it yesterday and thought, oh, more race stuff, I don't want to hear it. And the people go, no, you better listen to it. I listened to the whole thing. It is like, It's bizarre.
I mean, it sounds like it's scripted by a Saturday Night Live, writer or something.
Have you ever heard libertarians or Republicans talk like that?
No. I've heard, when I was a kid, I've heard family members talk like that, and they were all liberals. They were Democrats. So I think you're absolutely, and you go back, what was the Ku Klux Klan?
The Democratic Party.
Yeah,
it was their military militia.
The military arm of the Democratic Party. Why is that association gone for people today? It's not that long ago, And who was fighting against the Voting Rights Act?
The Democrats.
Yeah. So, I mean,
it was Eisenhower and the Republicans passing all that and putting the...
What party was Martin Luther King's whole family in? The Republican Party. His dad, himself, his family were all Republicans.
It shows the victory of propaganda, though.
Who were the first people that the Ku Klux Klan went after?
Black people.
Republicans.
Exactly. Who were trying to arm them.
Yeah.
Well, no, the NRA was founded to arm blacks who were newly freed.
Right.
You turn on CNBC or MSNBC, they'll literally go, the NRA is the new Klan.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally the opposite of reality.
Yes. And that's so much true of almost everything we see.
By the way, since you raised that, I want to play this clip. This is the Milwaukee County Sheriff, who's black, by the way, but I don't see that. I see a good law enforcement person, a good peace officer. He says, you have a duty to protect your family, campaign ad. They played this at the NRA convention this weekend. And then Sheriff David Clark went on to say, I have a better way of clearing up any confusion. Keep your hands off our guns, damn it. Let's play both those clips back to back. Here they are.
I'm Sheriff David Clark, and I want to talk to you about something personal, your safety. It's no longer a spectator sport. I need you in the game. But are you ready? With officers laid off and furloughed, simply calling 911 and waiting is no longer your best option. You can beg for mercy from a violent criminal, hide under the bed, or you can fight back. But are you prepared? Consider taking a certified safety course in handling a firearm so you can defend yourself until we get there. You have a duty to protect yourself and your family. We're partners now. Can I count on you?
This safety message brought to you by the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office.
I have a better way of clearing up any confusion that activist judges have about the meaning of the Second Amendment. I would add these 7 words at the end of the clause. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Keep your hands off our guns, damn it.
Now, see, I don't look at that as a black guy. Mm-hmm. I look at that as somebody who's a real American, loves freedom, who I admire and like. Yeah. And I can't imagine being like this team owner hanging out with somebody and then talking bad about them behind their back. But, I mean, my whole point is that's the kind of leadership we need. We need a bunch of libertarian folks that are, quote, minorities to run to take this country back from the Democratic Party. Totally with you. I mean, I believe in what Martin Luther King sought for was this colorblind society, and, we look at people, we don't look at the color of the skin, we look at their character, what I'll go hear music. I don't care if the guy's got blue skin. If I like their music, I could care less. Blue skin, I have a problem. No, but they might be dead. You know what I mean? Rainbow color. No, I mean, exactly. It's what somebody produces. If somebody was Chinese and wrote great science fiction books, I'd read it. I'm not even going to care that their name's Chinese. I don't get it. That's what you're saying. Exactly. And it's odd, but I've know lots of conservative people and Republicans, and except unless you get into sort of the Republican establishment, country club Republicans, you just don't find racism there. And, maybe it's because of the party of Lincoln, and it's a party that was literally founded fighting for the rights of black people when they were slaves and thereafter. That's what the Republican Party is all about. Well, I mean, look at Byrd, the Grand Dragon, and the big liberal. All the Democrats knew was racial politics. Mm-hmm. And they were losing it because of demographics. Right. So they just flipped it and... yeah. Let's use these guys. It was if it was planned out, it was a master stroke. Well, we have the LBJ letters. It was. And Margaret Sanger before him. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and LBJ's a great example because he was the guy straddling those two worlds there, as a... How do you counter something that diabolical, that evil? I'll tell you, I'm always afraid you're going to ask me for a solution. And, the world I live in is I hate to tell you this. I mean, I'm actually a journalist. I've always been a journalist, and I always felt like my job was
telling people the facts.
And then they could decide.
Yeah. But, you know, I've done this a few times. I've written a few books where I've attempted to give people solutions. And honestly, Alex, things are so tough right now with all the things you've been talking about today and every day on the air. I mean, we are entering a dangerous new phase for this country from which there may be no return. And I have to tell you that there are lots of things we could do. There are lots of things we should do. There are lots of things we have to do. And we could talk for hours about that. But there's one thing we better do that's a component of all of it in terms of if we really want to solve it. And that is to embrace the creator God of this universe, to repent of our sins individually and get right with God. Because without that, that's the only power.
I agree. No, you're right.
If we don't have God on our side, to make it simple, we're going to lose. And I think that's the missing dynamic that so many conservatives don't ever, you know, Republicans, whatever, people who, liberty fighters, if we don't keep our eye on that ball and we don't come to God pure, you know, sanctified in the blood of Jesus Christ, then we're not going to be able to make the progress that we hope to make in the years ahead.
No, you're right. We have become a decadent, wicked country, and we're going to be judged.
Right.
I mean,
this is judgment. What we're experiencing now is judgment.
The beginning.
For us, for our own sins. I'm not pure. I'm not sitting here telling you I'm holier than thou. Alex, I'm not doing that. I'm saying join me in repenting of sin.
No, I can feel it. You're moving my heart.
Yeah.
In fact, I was thinking this morning, people call up, tell me how great I am, and I don't really, people know my life, they think that's a pretty moral, nice guy, but I feel evil. I feel like I'm not doing enough. I feel like I should repent. And I think that's that overall spirit of knowing as a nation, we need to really get ourselves straight.
And another thing is that I think there's, you know, the church today out there is so corrupt. The theology that is spread is ridiculous. I mean, repentance is not a one-time thing. You don't say, you know, I accept Jesus Christ into my heart, and that changes you and forever. Repentance is a constant thing that you need to do throughout life. Look at King David, for instance. All the things this guy did wrong, right? Why was he still a man after God's own heart? Because he always repented. Heinous crimes, killing people, you know, all kinds of things that he did.
He was also in crises. That's
right. But that's the model for us, is that it's not a one-time act. Literally every day we've got to, you know, bare our soul.
Well, what's the verse in the Bible that if my people will...
2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people, which are called by my name, that he's only talking to believers here. See, I used to look at this verse and say, Alex, how are we going to get everybody in America or elsewhere to do this? That's not what it's about. It's only for believers. If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves, that's a key, and humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways. 4 things that we have to do. What does he say he'll do? He'll hear our prayers. In other words, if we don't do those things, he doesn't hear our prayers. Forgive our sins and heal our land. Wow, that's a great prescription that God gave us, and I believe it's for us today. You know, some people say that was.
And our land is sick; it needs to be healed. And when I say I feel evil, to quantify that, I feel humble and dirty. I feel like my best works are dirty rags. Quote the Bible again.
Right.
You know, in the presence of God's Spirit, you know, I realize how broken I am. Then I see other people just running rampant in evil and using lies to manipulate and dumbing people down. I mean, that is just so evil.
Right. And that's precisely it. I mean, you know, like I said, if we did every single thing that we put down on our list, if you and I and a bunch of other people who think like us got together, we made a list of all the things we have to do to overcome the evil we see before us, it won't work unless we include that one spiritual dynamic as well. Guaranteed.
No, you're right. That's what it comes down to. And the judgment's only beginning. I mean, I have a real feeling of dread in my spirit about what's coming.
I agree with you.
We'll be right back. We'll take a few segments. We'll do this till 5 after. Take a few phone calls, folks. Joseph Farah is in studio. This hour was brought to you by MyPatriotSupply.com/Alex. We find a lot of their specials. It's great, high-quality, storable foods, other preparedness items. It's non-GMO, organic, and they have great customer service. Give them a call at 866-229-0927, MyPatriotSupply.com/Alex. And don't forget InfoWarsStore.com that supports our entire media operation and our other sponsors. Thank you all for your support. And support other real media. We're not the alternative now. We are the new media. And I didn't even get into that, how they want to censor the internet, all of it. But Joseph Farah, I was bringing up to you during the break, as Iraq violence grows, U.S. sends more intelligence officers, Reuters. They admittedly, under Obama, put a bunch of al-Qaeda in western Iraq to attack Syria. It's those same people that have now, with heavy weapons, come into Fallujah and other areas. And they think we're so dumb that they're doing this out in the open. I've never seen anybody do something this bold. And, of course, it ties into Benghazi. Why do you think this is happening? Is this because they think we're so stupid?
Well, yes. I mean, al-Qaeda is actually serving the interests of this establishment right now, this political establishment, whoever it is that runs this country. To a certain extent, you know, it's partially true that we helped create al-Qaeda. I mean, that's no big secret. We've talked about that, I'm sure. And then the other thing is this. Ultimately, the people in charge, this establishment, is not nearly as threatened by al-Qaeda as they are by Alex Jones. You are the enemy. Al-Qaeda is not the enemy.
Well, the White House memos show that.
Al-Qaeda might be an inconvenience sometimes. It might be a pain in the neck. But they're not the enemy, and they never were. And that's the thing we have to understand.
They'll use them because they're so vicious and evil.
Right.
I mean, seeing the atrocities they commit and the blowing up churches and eating hearts, it sounds like something out of a comic book. I mean, right. It doesn't sound real.
These are truly evil people. Don't get me wrong. What I'm saying is that the power structure in our country...
No, I know. It's so amoral. They're using them, yes. And then they can take our liberties because of the threat.
Right.
See, I never said al-Qaeda wasn't real and wasn't attacking people. I'm saying they're using it and letting them do what they do to enslave us.
Mm-hmm. Right. So when you go to the airport, you got to go through all this song and dance, and that's just conditioning. Do you remember, by the way, I was thinking about this just recently, how you were straight on point on this issue when they started putting these new machines in, these intrusive scanners and so forth, and it was news, and you managed to break it through, become a news story for everybody.
Drudge did. We hammered it, Drudge did it, and became the #1 story for about 6 months, off and on.
And then what's happening today? Everybody's accepted it. Everybody's marching through like good robots, and you never hear any complaints about it anymore.
I was talking to a guy the other day that I've known from college, and he goes, yeah, I hear your show sometimes, but not often. He goes, I hate those scanners like a prisoner, and they still pat you down. I go, listen, you can opt out. And he goes, no, you can't.
Right.
And he didn't believe me, and I was like...
I see very few people making an issue of it anymore when I go to the airport. And, you know, I just think that was the purpose. This is programming for people.
And for a while, they quit groping the kids. Now that's back.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I don't like flying with my kids, letting some weird guy grab them.
They want to grope the kids at school, so they might as well start at the airport.
No, it's pure conditioning, yeah. It's pure conditioning. We're going to go to break and take a couple calls. This little extra, dessert segment coming up. But in 1 minute, other key points for folks.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Key points. Listen to Alex Jones.
Oh, stop it.
Support Alex Jones. Go to that store. Whatever he asks you to do, do it.
Well, the bigger thing is they do need to... People don't wake up by osmosis. They need to get the books, the films, the stuff at WorldNet Daily, and really promote what we're doing. Because, folks, we're in all the White House enemy lists.
You know, education is a prerequisite to action and doing the right thing.
Yeah, wake one person up a month, folks.
Yeah.
People are ready to hear the truth now. Mm-hmm. And then the next level's take action. Back in 70 seconds with Joseph Farah of WND.com. I'm Alex Jones.
You are listening
Nightly
to
News tonight, 7 o'clock. All right, taking a few final calls here with Joseph Farah. Had a great discussion last hour. Let's talk to Jeffrey in Michigan. Thanks for holding. We'll go to Lance and others. You're on the air. What's your question or comment?
Greetings, gentlemen. Much love. I appreciate you taking the call. Hey, real quick, first things first, Mr. Farah, Mr. Jones, keep doing your thing. It's a wonderful part of life when you can hear from a grand stage such as, broadcast, people proclaiming Christ and being real. And on that note, Mr. Farah, I got to say one thing. You are correct very much in saying that the people who run the show need to repent and be of a contrite heart and things of that such. But the one, I think, aspect we need to re-recognize or reevaluate or realize is that these people not only need to do that, but they first need to acknowledge his existence. You know, I think that's the major issue, denial.
Well, I want to say this. I've been a Christian my whole life, but not the establishment church. I have a spiritual relationship. But just as things get worse and worse, whatever reason, if even if there are atheists out there listening, I need Christ, and I believe in Christ, and I believe in the ideas of Christ. And I couldn't do this and have the courage that I have. And I'm not bragging. I'm just saying it's the opposite. I'm weak. I need God. Okay? And so I just noticed the people fighting the evil are mainly true Christians. And so all I know is evil is growing everywhere. We better do something.
Right. And look, what we're talking about here is a sense of powerlessness. I mean, you've got this platform that you use, and it's a big platform. But, you know, there are a lot bigger platforms than this that we're not getting to. And so, you know, as we had some success with WND, I felt, you know, everything I've been working for, I still have this sense of powerlessness at the end of the day. Well, you can't be paralyzed by that as long as you know that we serve this mighty God, holds the universe together. Without him, if he went to sleep, you know, the physicists have now proven what the Bible says, that there is a invisible dimensional force holding everything together. There's something outside of it. So, you know, as long as we know that he's on our side, then, you know, we can never feel powerless again.
The system wants us to feel powerless, but yeah, no, you constantly think, I've got to do more, I've got to beat him, I've got to beat him. You finally got to realize, no, just calm down, smooth out, do a good job, but don't, because that's why I really used to blow up and gibber on air, was because I was just so mad. There's a world government. They're tyrants. It's real. Stop denying it. You know?
I noticed you've calmed down quite a bit.
Yeah, I still get upset a lot. Because I just I'm reading documents, executive orders, people go, that's a conspiracy theory. At a certain point, you're sick of it.
Exactly. I've been hearing that for too long, the conspiracy thing. Meanwhile, the White House puts out the communication stream of conspiracy commerce report there in black and white. Nobody calls them conspiracy theorists because they're winding this.
And it's an open conspiracy to shut down free speech. I mean, any journalism professor would read that and say, this is the stuff of the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
I mean, this is their indictment. This is their confession of how evil they are.
Exactly.
I mean, can you imagine writing a memo if you were, how do we shut down Farah and shut down people investigating Vince Foster's death? They should be investigated for wanting to cover up investigations.
Precisely.
Thank you, caller. You know what? I can't get to everybody else. I apologize to everybody. If you call back tomorrow, I'll get to you. Joseph Farah, WND.com. You guys just get better and better with all your coverage and everything you're doing, and I really appreciate all the work you're doing, and that you also linked our stories.
I'm the leader of the Alex Jones fan club.
Oh, my gosh. Joseph Farah, thank you so much, sir.
God bless you, brother.
And are we allowed to say the film you're working on, or we should just leave that secret?
I think it's a secret.
Yeah, we'll do that, but it'll be exciting, and a lot of great work. I think that's the key.
I know that Alex Jones is a major star of it. So
oh, please.
Oh, yeah.
Like my big pumpkin head?
You haven't seen it. I've seen it.
Oh, my goodness. All right. Joseph Farah, thank you so much, sir. All right, we're going to go out and have a glass of water, and then he's going to get on an airplane and get out of here. Great job to the crew. Nightly News tonight, 7 o'clock. Become a subscriber. That's it.